So welcome everyone. I want to ask each of you why you became involved with the Justice for Evan campaign and what your role is. So I want to start with you, Jana.
Good morning, Deb, and thank you so much for having us. My name is Jana, and I'm a close friend of the Seyfried family. And when Evan took his life in March, it was absolutely devastating. And after finding out what Kroger had done to him, I had assumed that the higher ups at Kroger would have done the right thing. And the Seyfrieds thought that they would also, and that they would, because it was so obvious what Kroger had done to Evan. And we all thought that Kroger would take accountability and come forward and make an apology and say, we know that this happened, and that they would fire the managers directly responsible for Evan's death. And when the time came that they did not, I started the Justice for Evan campaign.
Thanks, Jana. Erica?
Hi, Deb. Thanks for having us. I'm Erica. I'm the co-organizer for Justice for Evan. I came on board with this movement last summer after I read the lawsuit. And needless to say, I was appalled, disgusted, pissed off, betrayed, and I just felt that as an employee of the company for over 2 decades, I just felt the need to jump into action and to do something. So I had reached out to Jana, offered my assistance, and the rest is pretty much history. The main reason why I've decided to jump on board with Justice for Evan is to be a voice for other employees company-wide, and to also try to instill change to where this can never happen to anybody in Kroger's workforce again. There's a lot of changes that need to be made, and that's what we're here to do. And we're not going to stay quiet about it, because that's what Kroger is used to, is people just laying down and taking the abuse. But unfortunately, we're here to say enough is enough, and no more. We're not going to take it.
Thanks, Erica. Vicky?
Hi. I actually read the lawsuit on the National Workplace Bullying Coalition website months back, and it just stuck with me. I couldn't shake what happened because I am a former target of a bully and victim of mobbing. And so Evan's story resonated with me. I know what he went through. His story is definitely far worse than mine. But all of us, and there are millions of us in the United States, our stories are eerily the same. And it's so hard to try and show that. But when you read the lawsuit, it is so obvious that that's what happened. He was tormented by 2 other employees, so he was bullied. And then he sought assistance in every way possible. He did all the things that his company told him to do, just as I had. But really what it is just a marinating cesspool of sitting in stress. And, so anyway, now I'm going to ramble, but that's why I got involved, because I saw it. And then, I said, I just want to connect with this and see what I can do because of my own circumstance. And the other part that tugged at my heart, is just Evan, himself. I have a son who was 11 months older than Evan, and I have a son who was 9 months younger than Evan. So, for the Seyfried family, just I could feel pain. I can't imagine one of my sons living without their brother, or the torment that the parents are going through, not understand, to just have your life and their son just gone out of their life without, out of their control. It's gone, and his life is gone. We can't replace it. So that all this devastation has pulled me into this campaign.
Thanks, Vicki. Amy?
Hi, I was Evan's girlfriend. He was my best friend and my soulmate. I knew that the situation at work was really bad. I didn't realize how bad it was until I read the lawsuit. It was a horrible, punch in the gut to know that the company that we both worked for, the company that I still work at, has, done this kind of stuff to someone that I loved. It was horrifying, and he didn't tell me much about what was going on at work. I wish that he had explained more. Maybe I could have helped. Maybe it would have been easier to handle. But I know he was trying to protect me because he was afraid they would come after me too. And I think that he was probably right on that. So I started helping with the Justice for Evan, mostly just because I need to feel like I am doing something to give just a positive outcome to something that has been devastating to my life. We had so many plans for the future, and it was just all ripped away. And I know I don't want other people to feel this way. It's not right. I really want something to change, that people don't get away with this anymore.
Thank you so much, Amy. I'm so sorry for all of your losses. Yes.
Thank you.
And Steve.
Hi, my name is Steve. So I kind of just started out as this random guy, but to tell you a little bit about myself is that I've never worked for Kroger. I've never been inside a Kroger. I never will. But I have worked in the grocery retail industry for a little over 11 years. And essentially, I came into the grocery business as a work study program, like a lot of people do. Just as a kid, it's an easy job to get in and stuff. And essentially, I became the store's floor mat, the rag doll, the thrown around, the punching bag, and everything like that. And me coming in straight from childhood into this environment, being naive, it was kind of deceptive in a way, thinking that, well, everybody says, work sucks. So I just kind of assumed that was the way things were to be. And obviously, these types of environments are very good at manipulating you into making you think that this is really the way it is. And anything that doesn't work out is, in fact, your fault. I'm not saying everything wasn't my fault, but I am saying that the major contributing factor is this type of environment and the types of people that run this environment. But eventually it got to the point where I just I couldn't take it anymore. A lot like Evan, I was also a dairy clerk. I wasn't a lead, but I was a clerk. But it did reach that point where I felt like I was about to have that psychotic break. It got to the point where it felt like all the emotions that I swallowed for the past decade were regurgitating up. I couldn't keep them down, and it was random burst of crying and odd behavior, very odd behavior that was just out of my character, wanting self harm and stuff like that. I had this revelation one day. I was just in the dairy cooler and I was just looking at this meme. I can't remember what exactly it said, but the gist of the meme was pretty much if you hang around certain types of people, you'll become that type of person. And so it's like kind of like if you hang around six felons, you'll become the seventh. If you hang around six millionaires, you'll become the seventh, something like that. But then it was like it like kind of hit me, and I was like, if I don't get out of here somehow, some way, I'm gonna end up becoming just like everybody else is here, just this pessimistic, nasty, resentful, hateful person. And eventually, I got the courage to get myself together. I finally landed another job out of fear of retaliation too, because every time I attempted to get out, they would retaliate and intimidate me. And I finally overcame that, and I got out and I got a new job. It was January 10th, 2020. And just in the nick of time before the pandemic hit. And, we got sent home. I was working from home after that. And I ended up working for a very, very well maintained and professional company that treated us fantastic. And it was kind of like during that time, it was a revelation. It was like, oh, hey, the way you were treated before wasn't the way it's supposed to be. You were lied to. And it was sort of like all this PTSD came up in this emotional detox. And during this emotional detox, I just was curious to know if, something similar ever happened to anybody else, or if it really was just my fault. And lo and behold, I came across, the lawsuit, and I came into knowledge of the lawsuit through a certain YouTube channel that just kind of highlighted everything and stuff. And when I saw the details of what exactly Evan went through, I saw some of the highlights that I thought that I was actually crazy for. Some of these tactics that it really does get you questioning your sanity, like the schedule manipulation. I remember there would be times where it's like I knew my boss was upset with me, so it was like the schedule would change, and like he would know when I would have events planned, and it would like move over to that event. And then if I confronted it about it, it would just be straight retaliation. So it's like I had this thought in my mind that they're using the schedule to break me. And I always thought it's just in my head. And then when I saw everything that happened with Evan, it was like this light bulb went off. And it's like, oh my God, no, this is an extremely manipulative and just harmful environment. And then it was kind of like that longing for justice, not just for Evan, but it's there's so many people that this is happening to. But in Evan's case, it's so important because it may be one of the first time a well-known case will actually be heard, and that praying to God that everybody that is responsible for this is held responsible. And so I'm on board with justice for Evan because I want to see that happen, for Evan, for his family, for his loved ones, for myself, for everybody else that has been put in this type of situation that's been taken advantage of. And so some of us have gotten out, we have severe PTSD and we're working through it. And some people don't make it out. Some people either resort to substance abuse to deal with it, overdose and die, commit suicide, or become like them. And there's got to be a better way than that. And that's essentially why I'm here. I want to find a better way. I want these companies to be held accountable. I want the bullies who work in these companies to be held accountable. And I want the people who feel like they're going down the wrong path of becoming like these nasty people to realize there's a better way out there. Yeah, that's essentially why I'm here. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Steve. I'm so sorry for what you went through. I'm wondering if Jenna, you can start us off with telling us what happened to Evan.
Evan was living a beautiful life in Milford, Ohio, and there's so much that happened to Evan. I could sit here and speak for 6 hours or more, 6 days, on what happened to him inside of Kroger stores. But I'll give your listeners and viewers a synopsis. But I would highly, everyone should read the lawsuit. Justice for Evan, we will post the lawsuit today on the Facebook page. So everyone can go to the Justice for Evan Facebook page, and we will post the lawsuit today so that the viewers and listeners can read that for themselves. It is 31 pages long. It is a difficult read, but it is very worthwhile to read. Anyone who reads the transcript cannot deny what happened to Evan Seyfried. He was living a beautiful life in Milford, Ohio. Evan was a very kind, extremely different than the ways of the world that most people are living in. He had a very intentional life. That intentional life was a very right life. He lived a purposeful, beautiful, peaceful, enjoyable life that he had carved out and created for himself. He was a homeowner and took great pride in owning his home. He took great pride in the quality relationships that he had with Amy and with his family. He was extremely close with his mother. He spent a lot of time. He had a routine, a very healthy routine. And part of that was having dinners with his mom and dad on Thursdays. And then he also started going over on Sundays and spent more time with them. During the pandemic, he never missed a day of work. He showed up on time every day for work, and I really want people to hear this. He worked for Kroger for 19 years. He didn't miss a day of work. He was never late for work. He never had a bad report at work. He was never written up at work. There was never a flaw on his record at work. And I really want people to really hear that. Imagine that, 19 years working inside of a grocery store. No one who ever worked under him, he was the dairy leader. No one who worked under him ever had an unkind word to say about him. He was known as an excellent leader. He was known to build personal relationships with his employees who worked under him. He had a wonderful, synergistic relationship with everyone in his life. He had a plane ticket to go and visit his brother, Eric, in Oregon in June. He took his life in March after a relentless 6-month bullying campaign that was started by 2 managers at Kroger. Those 2 managers are still employed by Kroger. And I want the viewers to know it's not because those managers don't deserve to be fired. It's because Kroger is a complete unright company. They're not doing anything that shows their workers, the Seyfried family, the public, that they are actually willing to fire these managers and protect their employees. They would rather listen to I don't know, their attorneys, uh, their protocol, that they are keeping these managers in place because of the current litigations, because of the case against them filed by Ken Seyfried for the wrongful death of Evan. So since those two managers, Shannon Frazee and Joseph Pig, are mentioned in the case, that's the term, mentioned in the case, they're not being fired, they're not being let go. The 6-month campaign against Evan was started because he was standing up. He was a whistleblower. He was standing up for how those managers how Joseph Pig was treating female employees. He became a whistleblower. He became bullied for being a whistleblower. They wanted to try to make him quit. He didn't quit. And we have also, as Erica, my partner at Justice for Evan, we found out other things since then that we can't currently speak about publicly, but there was an entire premeditated plan to get him out of his position as dairy manager. And they relentlessly had no care for his well-being at all, or what the aftermath would be, what the consequence would be. They had an agenda, and that was the only thing that they focused on. They had an agenda, and he was the target because he was a whistleblower and because of the position that he held as dairy manager. They wanted him out of that position. They wanted him out of the store so that they could continue their behavior as sexually harassing the female employees, and Shannon Frazee also sexually harasses employees, and for her to be able to continue her agenda, because as we've learned, she's just a power hungry, awful human being. And we've heard that from people in her past and present. We have not heard one good thing about her, nor one good thing about Joseph Pig from anyone in their lives, whether it be inside the Kroger stores or outside the Kroger stores. And after child pornography was sent to Evan's phone and an audit, he was sabotaged on an audit. I mean, horrifically sabotaged on an audit. And he failed that audit. And mind you, as Steve mentioned about the scheduling changes, and what we've learned about what managers are doing inside of retail stores is all this schedule manipulation to literally drive employees crazy, and as part of bullying them. And these managers have this power to do this. And part of Evan's schedule manipulation by Shannon was to prevent him from being present at an audit. And he tried diligently staying after hours, after working long shifts to stay for the audit. And he would stay. And then the audit would be canceled because she didn't want that audit to happen while he was in the store, because she had to make sure that he failed that audit, that he did not pass that audit. She had to make sure that was the audit, that audit in particular. He had to fail that audit. I mean, in her mind, she had to make that happen, and no matter what. And she worked really, 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 really hard to make that audit fail, because she had to work super hard, because Evan was working super hard to make sure that he didn't fail the audit. And when he failed that audit, of course, he was not present for that audit. He had stayed long after that current shift, and after he went home, that his department looked perfect when he left. And then when he left, his entire department was sabotaged and he failed that audit. And then child pornography was sent to his phone. Everything that he had been through over the past 6 months, it not only did it compile upon itself, but they were getting more and more and more and more aggressive on him. And he had an episodic break and he took his life in his childhood home on March the 9th. His father, Ken, found him. And I want everybody to really hear that. His father found him. And Evan had no history of mental illness. The Seyfrieds had never dealt with anything like this before. Ken and Linda Seyfried had raised two incredible boys. Two professional, good human beings who were contributing to the world, and they were looking forward to a future. Evan was looking forward to his future, and Kroger stole that future from his family, from Amy, and from all of the people who Evan would have continued to touch in his life. He was doing an incredible job for Kroger as an incredible employee. And Kroger didn't protect him. The union didn't protect him. And the family is suffering so horrifically. And for the people who stole Evan's life directly, and to everyone at Kroger, I imagine that you are not sleeping at night. And I'm not sleeping at night. And the Seyfrieds are not sleeping at night. This is not just a small thing that happened. And it's not just a small ripple. This is a horrific, even if nothing else bad was going on in the world, this single horrific thing that Kroger did, they stole this life. They ruined the Seyfried's life. They ruined their life. All of you who are responsible for Evan's death, you ruined Ken Seyfried's life. You ruined Linda Seyfried's life. You ruined Eric Seyfried's life. You ruined their lives. They have to go on. They do not have a choice. But you ruined their lives. We know that your heart is cold as stone. And if you find joy knowing that you not only killed Evan Scott Seyfried at the age of 40 years old, a completely innocent human being. If that is not enough for you, know the other lives that you have ruined forever. Eric, his brother is 2 years older than he is. There's not another sibling. Doesn't have another brother. He's not going to have another brother who could have given him nieces and nephews. He was looking forward to traveling with his brother. He was looking forward to growing old with his brother. Eric and I had these conversations. We had talked about his plans with Evan. He was looking forward to that. It was a very, very big part of his life. The Seyfrieds would have never, ever, ever anticipated, ever, that they would not have gotten to enjoy their lives with Evan. And it's not going to get better. And for the people who killed him, and for people at Kroger, for all of you corporate employees, and to Rodney McMullen, you ruined the lives of the Seyfried family. We will not allow you to ruin other people's lives. That's the only thing that we can do now. Let's get as much justice will never be served for Evan, but we have to show people what you did to him and what you are allowing to happen in your stores. And how dare the people at Kroger think that we, the people who loved Evan and love what's right in the world, would ever not do what we're doing. This is the right thing to do when something horrific happens at the hands of horrible human beings. And we will never stop. We will never, ever, ever, not for 1 second, let Evan's beautiful life not be remembered, nor his death be in vain. He would have wanted a voice for the workers who are suffering. And we are his voice now. And it is unbelievable what has transpired with all of the support that Evan and the Seyfrieds have received since we started Justice for Evan and people who've learned what happened to him. Because anyone who learns what happened to him, any good person who learns what happened to Evan cannot be silent. And that's exactly what's happened. No one is, when they learn what's happened to Evan, no one is being silent. I want to thank each of you who are here today, and all of the people around the country and the world who have given their time, their energy, their money, their hearts. This is not easy stuff to digest, that this can actually happen, and that it could actually happen at Kroger, who people have trusted historically, because Kroger used to be a good company, and people still think that Kroger is a good company. But since Rodney McMullen took over in 2014, the company's been going downhill. There's not a heart, there's not a good heart that's leading, that we have seen, that's leading Kroger. And that has to change. And if Rodney McMullen doesn't get out, then he has to change. And I don't know if he gets down on his knees and prays to the big God of the dollar bill every single morning, but I'll tell you, that's not who I get down on my knees and pray to. And any single person out in the universe who thinks that the power of money is greater than the power of what created us and created this universe, there's nothing that can stand up to the creator of the universe. And that's who I'm asking to help us every single day. And I really want the listeners and viewers to think about that. Think about the power of money and what that has brought into the universe. What's the power of money? How good has the power of money? How good has it been in in the evolution of us as human beings. And I really, we're going to force Kroger to change from all of the attention that we are bringing on to what they are doing, and the united force that we are bringing with all the good people in the world, because so many good people are coming forward and helping us. And we're just going to continue to grow and grow. We just started in July, and we're never going away. Imagine 10 years from now. You think Kroger's going to stand a chance against all these people coming together and uniting against them? 10 years from now, we're not going to get tired. We're just going to have more and more and more energy. And that's what Evan would have done. He would have never sat back and watched this happen. He didn't.
Thank you so much, Jenna, for that beautiful tribute to him and for your call for justice. I want to ask now what the goal is of the Justice for Evan campaign.
Thank you, Deb. We have so many goals. We want to bring as much attention to what happened to Evan. I'll address this first. So what happened to him? We want to educate people on what is going on inside of the Kroger stores. We want to educate people and let them know exactly who Evan was, the beautiful, beautiful person that he was. He wasn't, I'm going to say, a normal person as far as he was better. He was better than most people, and Amy can attest to that. He was just a beautiful person. And we want his legacy to be known. And we want, through the legal system, we want Kroger to be held accountable for what happened to him, because they are directly responsible for his death. And we want them to, they have not shown that they can do the right thing without their hand being forced to do so. We want Kroger, in an ideal world, we want Kroger to actually know, they know that they did this, but we want them to actually be brave enough to come forward and actually say, if you know something, why can't you just say it? Why can't you just say, this happened? This is happening in your stores. What happened to Evan. Why can't you just say, we know this happened to him. We know we need to change, because you know it. You know this. So I don't understand why you're so afraid to just say it. It's horrible. We all know. How embarrassing. But in an ideal world, I'd like Kroger to come forward and actually say the words, that they take accountability for Evan Seyfried's death. I want them to come to the Seyfried family, apologize for being such a horrible, corrupt company that doesn't stand up for its employees. That would be step one in getting justice for Evan. We want the union to come forward and say, you know what? We're working for Kroger. We're not working for our employees. Because that's exactly what's happened. Union 75, bunch of cowards. No one has stood up. Not one person has stood up and said, we know we didn't protect Evan. We are so sorry. We know we didn't protect him. And now we will accept the consequence of our dire, grievous mistakes and errors. Whether it was from maliciousness on their part, or simple laziness on their part, or simple corruption and acceptance of corruption. Because I really don't think, that a lot of people who are going to work at Kroger, that they're even thinking. I don't think they're even thinking. I think people have forgotten how to think for themselves, and they just are on this track of uh, of like Steve was saying, you hang out with bad people, you're going to become bad people unless you are strong enough. So to me, all these people are just weak, super weak. I mean, they get in with bad people and then they just are accepting that, and they are too afraid to stand up for people. And the union has to change. If there's going to be a union, you have to protect your employees. And if you're not, as far as I'm concerned, that is part of our goal, is we're going to make the union change and do what they're supposed to be doing. We shouldn't be having to force the union to change and basically we've become a third party of volunteers who are making a full mission to actually make Kroger and make the union do their job. What a shame. But you know what? Thank goodness for all these good people who can come forward and who can make change, because it has to happen. It has to happen. People are just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And as we mentioned the other day in a team meeting, I firmly believe that we're becoming a culture of, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do anyway? What are you going to do? Stand up to people? How ridiculous is that? Yeah, we are going to we are going to stand up for people. We're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let this happen to people. We're not going to let these workers who are going every single day. I mean, these workers are going every single day and they're having to deal with customers every single day. Like, shouldn't there be a cohesive good team in every single store, a cohesive good team of protection of each other, solidarity, team building? And I was in Panera, and I want to give a shout out to Florence Panera in Union, Kentucky. I was there last week with my daughter, and we were the only two people. It was they were having their team building meeting, and there was a manager. And if I was thinking, wow, if Shannon Frazee talked to her employees like that, then obviously she even talked to her employees with a quarter of the empowerment that manager was talking to her employees, we would not be sitting here right now. And there should be like with managers, it should be I'm on your team. And there was never that with Shannon Frazee and her employees. It was divisive. I have power over you. You are my subordinate, and I'm not. And I am only. She was only concerned about herself. But of course, a lot of managers are narcissistic, borderline psychopathic, and she's definitely in that category. And she's just a horrible person. And Kroger is at fault for hiring her after she had been fired from Target for harassing employees. March the 9th is the 1 year, 365 days since Evan took his life. And we are broadcasting loud and clear on that day across the country with solidarity with wonderful people who are volunteering their time and energy to gather on State House steps, courthouse steps, anywhere that they can gather, to shout Evan's name and to bring attention what happened to him, bring attention to our growth, and show Kroger that we are not going away. We are just growing and growing and growing, because Kroger wants us, they want to silence us, just like they silenced the whistleblower that Evan was. We are Kroger's worst nightmare. And we want Kroger to know, we are your nightmare. We are your workers' dream. And we are never going away. We are working on getting the Dignity at Work Act passed, which makes bullying illegal. We are going to be in your stores. We're going to keep an eye on everything that you and your union are doing. And we're going to force you to treat your employees well. And it is a crying shame, and it's a super antiquated acknowledgement that bullying people to death in the workplace is not illegal in the United States of America. And it's also incomprehensible that we as a human race have to have laws set in a retail workspace showing people that it's illegal to bully employees. It's a horrific thing that we're having to do this job, but it's a job to do, and we are present to do it.
Thank you, Jenna. Can Vicky and Erica and Amy and Steve talk more about the plans for March 9th? What's going to happen across the country?
Sure. Well, like Jenna said, on March 9th being the 1-year anniversary of Evan's death, we are rallying up as many states as possible across the country. I think so far we are up to, what is it? Is it 13 now, Vic? 12-ish? To, hold an event, a rally, a demonstration, protest, whatever you want to call it, peaceful, of course, a gathering at various state houses across the country to help raise public awareness of workplace bullying and mobbing, and raise awareness of what happened to Evan. And we're doing all of this in conjunction with the National Workplace Bullying Coalition, who are proponents behind the Dignity at Work Act, which will give all workers their inherent right to human dignity at work. So that's, in a nutshell, what the gist of March 9th is. And we, we've also had, I think in Texas, they're doing like an online streaming vigil. So people are, finding other ways to, really make some noise on the 1-year anniversary of Evan's death. So, the goal is to just raise public awareness that yes, this does happen. It happens to adults. It's not just, something that happens on the playground. This is happening in our workplaces more than we would like to admit. And it happens at Kroger more than people would like to admit. So all of that entailed is really what March 9th is all about, and to just keep spreading the word about what happened to Evan, because we don't feel enough people know about it yet. So we're we're gonna make sure that as many people as possible hear about this. So regardless of what roadblocks Kroger might think that they can put up, to stop it. We're a tsunami at this point, and there's no stopping us. So they might as well just, lay their swords down at this point and just take some accountability, because justice is coming whether they like it or not. So, because it's what the Seyfrieds deserve.
I'd like to chime in
Yeah, I was gonna ask you.
from there. Eric has done a fantastic job talking about really the back space of, what March 9th represents. But I want to even talk a little bit further. Bullying and mobbing is not new. It's 4 decades deep, and there is research that is well documented to address that. The unfortunate thing about it is that the public awareness is near nil. And that is because employers are powerful entities and American employees are no longer powerful, as Jana and Erica have both made clear. We're the last industrialized nation to address workplace bullying and mobbing, because there isn't just one interpersonal abuse system. There's 2. One is bullying, one is mobbing. They are so deeply intertwined, and there's a lot of confusion around what that is. And so this case, again, going back to the lawsuit, it just brings such a unique opportunity to this 4-decade-old phenomena that cannot be recognized in the United States, because the lawsuit is a blueprint. That Jana had mentioned that bullying is not illegal. It's, per se, it's not, because that's what employers tell us. And that's what we've kind of bought into that it's not illegal. But when you really pick apart the pieces of what bullying is, it most certainly is legal. And there are laws out there. And the lawsuit is that proof. That lawsuit is saying there's, conspiracy is a crime, fraud is a crime, negligence, supervisory negligence, a work environment. There's I know it's not state law, but I believe there's county law in that lawsuit that is cited, that they have to have a certain work environment. So that, laws are being broken. We just, we have not been able to point to the correct laws. And as I said, we're so suppressed because employers are the ones who dictate the lingo out here, and we very rarely get to be heard. And I've testified for 2 pieces of legislation, and our legislators look at us like we have 9 heads. They don't understand. And so what this March 9th is a big wake-up call to the country, that this problem exists. And I am so impressed with Jana and Erica in particular, because neither one of them have been bullied and mobbed, yet they have brought this hidden problem to the surface, as well as the Seyfried family. They have, their cry, their heartache and their cry to not be quiet about what happened to their son has shed light on this problem that has been buried for 4 decades. So March 9th is a culmination. By the time I realized it and everything else too, it was like, what can we do going forward? And so March 9th was ahead of us. And we were like, on that 1-year anniversary of his death, we want to make noise. We want the Seyfried family to know that we heard them, and it's not okay what happened to Evan. And a lot of the sites that are being manned on March 9th are being posted by people like myself, who have been bullied and mobbed, and Steve, who's on the call, and Deb, actually. We have experienced this. And those are the people who are coming out. Those are the people who are manning the post. Those are the people who are coming out and who are going to be holding signs, and they're going to be standing on State House steps and courthouse steps And even on a Facebook Live event, an online event, I actually had someone submit a video of skating that they did for the Seyfried family. So everyone is coming out and letting the country know that bullying and mobbing exists, and it's not okay.
Thanks, Vicky. Can you also explain how people can get involved? What you're looking for them to do if they want to plan one in their state?
Well, what we are asking is really, we've tried to keep the bar low because we don't want everyone, we don't want to burden people with this. We just want people to feel safe and come out. One of the problems with this being so secretive, the problem has been to get people who have been bullied and mobbed to come out. They fear their employers, as they well should. When you see the devastation that has happened to the Seyfried family, 71, according to statistics from 2017, 71% of American workplaces are abusive. And meaning that if you go to them like Evan did and ask for help, what they will do is ignore you and make your life miserable and stressful until you leave. Because the bottom line with all of this is that employers are not liable for psychological safety. They're liable for physical safety, and that's why no one can punch you while you're at work, because they're liable for that. And they're liable for clean water, and they're liable for fresh air, but they are not liable for the psychological safety of their employees. And that's why when you report abusive behavior, you are the one who is outed, because they do not want to be liable for that. So I got way off track on that. But so what we want for team leads is for people to come to the State House and hold up a sign, because we are trying to pass law in the United States to get something out there that will change this. But while I'm saying that, I also want to, again, look to that lawsuit, because that is, if the Seyfried family wins that lawsuit and we have case law, it changes the whole fabric of the American workplace. So this March 9th is very important to everyone who has been bullied and mobbed. And that's what we're trying to do, is pull people who are afraid and saying, come out and stand with us. If this happened to you, it's not okay. And it wasn't okay when it happened to you. It's not okay when it happened to Evan. And what I've said from day one is I don't want it to happen to anyone else. And that's the thing. Is that it's happening. There are people at work today who they don't even realize that it's happening to them, but they're being bullied and they're being mobbed. And this devastation is so infiltrated that we can't even keep the numbers, but it's millions of employees every year. So anyway, I'm going to give that to Erica about how people can contact us and everything else, because she's much more savvy with that than I.
Oh, I am I? Well, I would just refer everybody to mainly the our Facebook page at Justice for Evan, and if there is an event posted for March 9th, and all the information, links, as far as how you can get involved, RSVP, that's all on there. So I would direct people to just hit up the Facebook page for any and all information pertaining to March 9th. And if there's also an event being held in your particular state.
Great, thank you. I want to open this up to everybody. What do you hope is the impact of these protests and the campaign in general?
The goal is to raise public awareness that this, bullying, mobbing, and bullycide does happen. It's very prevalent in the workplace, first and foremost. And we just need to really stand in solidarity with one another if we want to get any of this accomplished. In the meantime, if you see a coworker being bullied or harassed, don't just stand there, say something. We really are all in this together. So it is a group effort. But overall, it's just to change the entire structure that Kroger has, comfortably carved out for themselves. And it's just time, to throw out the old and in with the new, because it's quite clear that the policies are outdated, they're antiquated, they do not cater to the employee at all. They're very one-sided. And, a lot of us, especially those of us that have, been with the company for a long, long time, we know that at one point you were better than this. Kroger's always had a reputation of, being a pretty good place to work overall, considering. People can't really say that anymore. And I think from an employee perspective, for those that don't just up and quit, we'd like to see Kroger get back to what it used to be. And what it used to be is Kroger actually used to care about its employees at one point. There was a time where, Kroger stood apart from all the rest. So we just need to basically tear down the whole structure and just rebuild from the ground up. And the employees are going to be a very important part of that, because without that, then it almost seems pointless to me. What are we doing it for? So ultimately, yeah, that's where I stand.
Employers are at the center of this, and all the research, when you peel back all the layers, everyone points to the employer. And so until they are held accountable and held liable for the psychological safety of their employees, nothing is going to change. So that's what this is. What I loved when I first talked with Erica and Jana, and they told me that Kroger was in 35 states. I was like, whoa. But that's why this is very important, because if we can have this, and I can't say we, but the Seyfried family, are holding their feet to the fire. And if they win this case and it changes the law to hold an employer that large accountable, will impact our whole country, as I said.
Thanks, Vicky and Erica. Oh, go ahead, Amy.
I feel like I'm hoping that it will change the company the way that, like, with the ethics helpline, that currently if you call the ethics helpline, you get a recording and it goes straight to your store manager. I would like something to change there so that you actually have an effective ethics helpline that does something, anything, other than just going to the person you might be complaining about. Also, the same with the union. Like, I feel like I would like the union to, like, look hard at their practices. Like, if we're paying you dues to protect us, why aren't you protecting us? We deserve that. That's why you have jobs. So I would like, and I'm hoping that with everything that we're, trying to do, that is two main goals, is to, get some sort of protection out there for all the workers. And because what we have now is very, very ineffective, and it's it's eye-opening how weak that our union is. So I would that's kind of where I'm hoping things go.
Thanks, Amy. I was curious if you wanted to add anything, Steve, of where what you'd like to see happen.
What I would really like to see happen is I've noticed this effect when it comes to a lot of these workplace justice movements like Justice for Evan or Apple II or G2 or stuff like that. When, whatever happens at the workplace that people feel like they need to have reconciled and that they need a justice for, like the bullying for Evan, it's almost like instantaneously you get this initial hype of people saying, "Oh my God, I can relate to that," and it's kind of like you have like a tsunami of people coming out saying, "Oh hey, I can relate to that. Me too." And so we have experienced that online with spreading the word of justice for Evan. A bunch of people all around the world coming out saying, "Hey, been there, done that. What can we do about it?" But if it gets to the point where it hits the streets and people are going about their day-to-day life and they see that, oh hey, that guy is making a statement of something that I can relate to, hopefully it can draw a crowd. And really that's the best thing that can happen. I mean, I know we want Kroger to fall on its knees instantaneously, but if we can get even just a little bit of a hype of people saying, "Oh hey, this is great. A movement's finally acknowledging this. What else can we do about this?" So I'm not trying to go too high with my expectations, but just that in general would be fantastic, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I hope to see come out of it.
Thanks, Steve. Any parting words, Jenna, for the viewers and listeners today?
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Deb, so much for what you're doing in the world and what you're doing for Evan and all of the workers by having us on today. I want your viewers and listeners to know that the Seyfrieds appreciate all of the support. I mean, every single person who comes on board with us, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. I mean, this is what the Seyfrieds are doing now, is grieving and trying to live. That's just live, just get through each day. Everything is so different. They used to, their lives were very joyful. They have a beautiful, modest, lovely, I mean, it's like I'm going to say the word American dream, but I don't want that to be cliche and everybody like picture, oh, here's this, like cookie cutter family in this suburban home, which all that's great, but it's different than that. Like they had a home, that's set in this little wooded setting on a cul-de-sac that, they've had, a nice private peaceful life there all of their children's lives. That's where they've raised their kids. They've been there, what they would consider forever. And they have nice, wonderful neighbors, and everybody like, they just have like a private, quiet, nice, joyful existence, good family traditions. They really look forward to getting together on all their holidays. They, they were just a well functioning, happy, but not what I would consider like a typical family, because they were what I would consider like pretty much what we would, they were just really, really living like whole lives, and they had worked really hard to like to like they had an idea of what they wanted, and that the life that they had made for themselves, and their boys had made lives for themselves. And since Evan's death, it's literally destroyed. Their lives are destroyed. It they still they stay in their home, but they go and they see Eric, but it's not a place of joy anymore. Their home is not a place of joy anymore. Their home is the place where Evan took his life now. It's not the place that they, you know, had. It's a place of pain. It's not a place of refuge anymore. It's a place of pain. And that's because of Kroger. Kroger destroyed where they lived, all of their children's lives. Kroger destroyed that. And Kroger had no right to do that. They had no right to do that. This was a family who was living a wonderful life. And Kroger had no right to destroy their entire life. They are suffering, and they are doing everything that they possibly can do to just simply survive. Mother's Day isn't a time now that Linda's looking forward to. February 11th wasn't a time, that was Evan's birthday, that Linda was looking forward to. All this now is dread. Like every day is dread. It's not, it's the difference between darkness and light. You know, they were living a life in light, and now they're living a life in darkness, just trying to get through every single day. The loss that they suffered is absolutely tremendous, and they will never be the same. It will never be the same. And that is 100% on Kroger, who didn't even know this family. Kroger didn't even know this family, you know, not at all. Those managers didn't know this family, not at all. And they did that. They destroyed their lives. And we are going to do every single thing that we can possibly do to give the Seyfrieds all the support that they deserve. They are in an incredibly, a family that deserves all the respect, all the support. They're just extremely classy, fantastic people. Exactly the opposite of Kroger, and exactly the opposite of the horrible people who are still working at Kroger. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm so sorry to Amy, who, you know, she still has to work at Kroger, you know, and I know that that's incredibly painful for her to have to go into the store, even though she works at a different store than Evan worked at, but go into Kroger, because it's like a representation of evil, what's going on there. And thank goodness there are good people like Amy and Erica who are working at Kroger, because there are good people who are working there. And thank goodness that there are. But I am sorry for all of you good people who are working for such a horrific, toxic company. And we're going to do everything that we can to make that change.
Thank you so much, Jenna, and thank you to all of you for being here today, and the work that you're doing, and for giving a voice to this, for Evan and the Seyfried family. So thanks so much for what you're doing, and we'll add the links for how to get involved on March 9th, and so people can come out and show their support. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, everyone.